Good afternoon. This is Rich Nass, Executive Vice President with Open Systems Media and leader of the Embedded and IoT franchises, and I'm here for this week's installment of 5 Minutes With. And this week, I am speaking to Glenn Perry, who is the Vice President and General Manager of the Embedded System Division of Mentor Graphics, who you probably know by now is a Siemens Corporation. Good afternoon, Glenn.
Good afternoon, Rich.
And how are you today?
I am very well. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
My pleasure. So have you got the German part down? Are you fluent in German now?
I know exactly one word, danke.
That's all you need to know, right? Very good. Okay. What I'd like to speak to you about today is actually a follow-up of the Embedded Insiders podcast that Brandon Lewis and I did the other day, where we were talking about the various levels of autonomous driving. It actually ties very closely into something you guys just announced, which we alluded to on that podcast, where you guys are offering software and hardware for level 5 autonomous driving. Before I go on, did I get all that right? Is that how you would characterize what you guys announced?
Yes, that's correct. It's the Direct Raw Sensing, or DRS 360 platform, and it targets, it was developed for level 5 autonomous driving, and it also scales down to lower levels. Okay,
so let's talk about those lower levels, and that's the part that Brandon and I struggled a little bit with. What is actually level 2 versus level 3, and what's here today and what's not? I was under the impression that anything below a Tesla, like the high end, the BMWs, the Mercedes are at level 2, where the Tesla, where it actually steers the car for you, is level 3. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly good depiction, although I do believe that other of manufacturers beyond Tesla have level 3 in production today in some of the most premium vehicles, and specifically BMW and Daimler, perhaps Volvo as well as Audi. And these levels are defined by the SAE. There are actually 6 levels starting at 0 with no automation, and then they scale up from there to the highest level with full automation.
Okay. Now, I happen to know that you own a Tesla, and I drove one of those cars once, and having that thing steer for me completely freaked me out. Do you use that feature, and do you get used to it?
I do use it, but I am pretty cautious or at least attentive while I use it. I think it's useful for the minor distraction in the vehicle if you happen to be glancing somewhere else other than on the road, but I wouldn't suggest leaning back and bringing up your iPad to watch a movie.
But if you have to pay attention, doesn't that defeat the purpose of having it?
Well, I think it is an assistance, so it's not intended to replace the driver, certainly at level 3, and if for no other reason than just liability reasons, Tesla and any OEM will do their best to remind the driver frequently that they need to keep their hands on the wheels and they need to be attentive. But you know, there are times where your mind may be elsewhere. Cars are braking quickly in front of you, and the car will see that more often before you do and can begin to respond before you do. And the same can be said for staying within the lanes in the vehicle or in the road. And so it is a convenient and enhanced safety feature for the vehicle, even at level 3, in my opinion.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of talk about level 3 because some of these features are available. There's a lot of talk about level 5 because it means that the car drives itself. But there's not a lot of talk about level 4. You're a lot closer to that. Do you hear people talking about level 4? And what is the intermediary step?
Yeah, I view the distinction between level 4 and level 5, which isn't purely by the SAE definition, but I think it has more to do with use case, whereby level 4 has the ability to truly drive itself in a wide range of scenarios, but perhaps not in all ranges of scenarios. So, for instance, in highway drive scenarios, it's quite capable. The vehicle should be quite capable of fully controlling itself under any highway condition and scenario. But you probably don't have the same capability in a city environment where you have, pedestrians and cats, dogs, cows, depending upon what country you're in. So, and yet with level 5, you expect that the vehicle can handle itself in any scenario, any driving scenario in any location.
Okay. Now, at the end of the podcast that I did with Brandon, he actually caught me off guard in that we were going through all the levels and all the technologies here, and then he threw out, "You're not going to see this technology for real for another 20 years." And I said, my response to that was, "You're wrong. You're definitely going to see it before 20 years." Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I think you will see it in 2021. In fact, I'm sure you will. And I think if I look back 18 months ago, I would have had the same prediction that Brandon has, that it's 20 years out. But if at least one of the factors that seemed to really accelerate full autonomous driving were the economic reports that were published by some highly respected universities that measured the economic benefits of autonomous driving and shared mobility in the order of trillions of dollars annually. And that just got the attention of the tech giants and everyone else, I think, around the world, and really accelerated what was possible. And it was really, the technology is there in raw form. It was a matter of moving it forward toward production. So I think you will definitely see the highest levels of autonomous driving in some vehicles beginning in 2021.
So if I do the math right, what you've seen over the last year and a half has moved your date up by 16 years. That's pretty
correct.
Significant.
Yeah, it is. And I would say that maybe I was a little behind the curve in really fully appreciating how much the global economic impact was for the technology. But I think once that was certainly known by me, it was more obvious how quickly this would come to market. And I'll take it a step further, Rich, to say that the other thing that folks may think is even more than 20 or 30 years out are taking the vehicles to the air. And I'm not exactly talking about the Jetsons here, but if you look at the Uber Elevate paper that they published in October, it makes a very good case for autonomous vehicles. We have the drone technology that can carry large payloads. They're electric. They deal with the sound abatement challenges. They don't have all the types of risk of collision in the air that you have on the ground. There's less infrastructure needed for air routes. NASA's deploying an air traffic control system for drones currently. It's in beta. So all the pieces are there for that, and frankly, autonomous driving is a lot easier in the air than it is on the ground.
Well, I tell you, having to navigate the Cross Bronx Expressway on a regular basis, boy, would that be nice.
Yeah, the idea of going from San Jose to San Francisco in 12 minutes, which would otherwise take you 2 hours in rush hour, sounds like a great idea to me.
Very good, very good. All right, so I'll let you get a plug in here because I know that the technology that you guys announced last week brings people directly to level 5. So just explain to me very briefly how that works.
Sure. The short story, Rich, is that we've been actively developing ADAS systems of various levels, and the direction had been one of aggregating legacy systems together. They were all built on distributed compute architectures. We stepped back a couple of years ago and said, to get to the highest levels, we don't really think this is going to work. So we designed from a system level a platform that takes raw data from all sensors of all types and fuses it into one environmental map. We get to apply some very sophisticated machine learning algorithms on it, and the end result is a system that can not only do level 5, but do it with far less compute power and far more affordably than you would otherwise be able to do it.
Now, you didn't mention that that's on a Xilinx Zinc platform, which I am a big fan of.
So it is. It does rely on a Zinc platform at the front end, where we accelerate our algorithms for the raw data fusion, and then there are other SoCs in the platform for running some of the algorithms for the actual ADAS and AD control and communication to the safety framework, communication framework of the vehicle.
Very good. Well, if you want more information, I'm sure you can find it on the Mentor site. However, we'd rather you go to the embedded computing site because I wrote that up last week, and you can find what you need to know there. Thank you, Glenn. I'd like to thank you for being my guest this week on 5 Minutes With.
Thank you, Rich. It's great to talk with you.
That was Glenn Perry. He is the Vice President and General Manager of the Embedded System Division of Mentor Graphics. Have a great day.